See, delta G value is negative means it's a spontaneous reaction, isn't it? That is, it's an exothermic reaction. Formation of an oxide is an exothermic reaction. So, delta H is negative value. So, you take chromium oxide, add aluminium metal wants to form aluminium oxide. Further, Fe3O4 will react with more carbon monoxide to give Fe, and carbon dioxide gas is liberated. It can be cast into various shapes. Because it has got 4% carbon, we call it as pig iron. It has got a lot of impurities. Hello my dear students, welcome back to session 3 on the chapter General Principles and Processes of Isolation of Elements. Last class we studied about the purification of bauxite by leaching, that is Bayer's process, and we learnt about the conversion to oxide by roasting and calcination. Also, I had explained about the thermodynamic principles of extraction of a metal, isn't it? Now, we'll continue with the same topic, that is Ellingham diagram. You need to understand the Ellingham diagram so that you will understand the basic principle of extraction of the metal. Okay, so what is this Ellingham diagram? The plot between delta GF naught of formation of an oxide of an element versus temperature is called as an Ellingham diagram. So what you have? We have delta G naught, okay, and temperature. And delta G naught values is for formation of the oxide of an element. Okay, so such graph we call it as an Ellingham diagram. It provides a sound idea about selecting the reducing agent in the reduction of oxide. I explained to you what is the meaning of reduction, isn't it? You have a metal oxide, for that you have to add a reducing agent which will take up the oxygen and leave the metal alone there. So metal oxide gets converted to metal in the process of reduction reaction. Okay, so here, which is the reducing agent you have to use, you will understand by knowing the Ellingham diagram properly. Okay, next, such diagram helps in predicting the feasibility of the thermal reduction of an ore. So here, as temperature is there in the x-axis, it will also tell us whether that particular reduction reaction is feasible at a particular temperature or not. You understand in Ellingham diagram. Also, delta G must be a negative at a given temperature for the reaction to be feasible. Why delta G must be negative? See, delta G value is negative means it's a spontaneous reaction, isn't it? So, if a reaction has to be feasible, delta G value should be negative at a particular temperature. So, we can choose a reducing agent, okay, looking into the Ellingham diagram and also taking care that if I use that reducing agent, this reduction reaction can happen at what temperature, so that the delta G value also is negative. So, all of this you will understand by looking into the Ellingham diagram. So, how does the Ellingham diagram look? It actually looks like this, okay, in which you have delta G naught, that is in kilojoule per mole, okay, in the y-axis, and the temperature is there in the x-axis. So, what are the important characteristic features of Ellingham diagram for the oxides we need to understand? So, I will just read up one by one points and I will explain to you all so that there will not be any confusion, okay. So, standard free energy values of a metal oxide show gradual increase with the increase in temperature. Okay, and it is because the entropy decreases due to the disappearance of 1 mole of oxygen. Hence, delta G naught becomes less negative or finally positive as the temperature is increasing. So, what is the meaning of this is, see, observe the graph carefully. Here you can see this is minus 1200, minus 1100, minus 1000. From minus scale is going on decreasing. It is going to 0, and then if we continue, it is the positive scale which will be there for delta G naught values. Now, temperature from 0 degree to 2000, or I can take 273 to 2273 Kelvin is taken in the x-axis. Now, for example, if I am taking magnesium plus oxygen forming magnesium oxide, okay, its delta G naught value at 0 degree Celsius is somewhere here, that is minus 1000. Okay, but as the temperature is increasing, you can observe that the line is going upwards. That means it is becoming less and less negative, and it is slowly going towards the positive scale. As you can see, all the lines are going upwards except for one which is coming downwards here. Okay, I'll talk about that later. But here you can see magnesium with oxygen forming magnesium oxide is also going upwards. Aluminium with oxygen forming aluminium oxide. Zinc with oxygen forming zinc oxide. Carbon monoxide with oxygen forming carbon dioxide. Iron with oxygen forming iron oxide. Copper with oxygen forming copper oxide. All of them are going like this. As the temperature is increasing, the delta G naught values is becoming less and less negative and going towards the positive scale. And why is this happening exactly? If you look into the entropy, see, aluminium is a solid, okay? Oxygen is a gas which reacts to form a solid. So you're converting a gas also into a solid by formation of oxide. So what happens to entropy? Entropy is decreasing. Okay. So metal plus 1 mole of oxygen is forming metal oxide. This is the reaction which is there in all of the Ellingham diagrams, all the lines. Okay. And you have to know G is equal to H minus Ts, and here at high temperature, Ts is greater than H. Why? Because, see, delta H is negative. That is, it's an exothermic reaction. Formation of an oxide is an exothermic reaction. So, delta H is negative value. Delta S also is negative value, because here entropy is decreasing. I told you, oxygen, which is a gas, also is getting converted into a solid. So, entropy is decreasing. Then what will happen to G value? See, G is equal to, this is negative, delta H is negative, minus T, this also is negative. That is entropy. Minus into minus, you get a positive value. And at high temperature, this positive value will be so high that G can come as positive value and not negative. So, we have to see at what temperature, okay, you will get still, Gibbs free energy will be negative itself, so that process is feasible. Okay. So, I hope you have understood this particular part. When is or why is it G to be negative? Very important. And why it can get converted to positive? Very easily. Because the entropy is decreasing with the increase in temperature. Okay. So, next we will see. Now, one more thing what you can observe in this graph is, here you can see magnesium up to 1200 degrees Celsius, it was a straight line going upwards. Suddenly there is a change. Suddenly there is a change in the angle. It is going, suddenly it is going still upwards. Here also, zinc also, suddenly it is going, there's a change in the angle and suddenly the increase is more. Why? Because of the change in phase. What is happening? That is, when, solid is getting converted to liquid, or a liquid is getting converted to a gas. Okay. That is in its melting point and the boiling point. You can see that sudden change in the line. You can see it is not going straight above. Okay. Suddenly there is a change in the angle, and that point will be what? Either it will be the melting point of the metal, or it will be the boiling point. Okay. As the metal vapor or a liquid disappears on oxidation of, to form more metal oxide, S for the reaction will become highly negative, because The metal which is melted or it is going into the gaseous phase also is going into the solid phase, which is the oxide. Isn't it? That's why it goes much faster to the positive scale. So what is happening here? For example, magnesium, at this point of time, this magnesium metal what is there in the solid state also is getting converted to the liquid state. So liquid state and the gaseous state is getting converted to solid state. So entropy is still decreasing. It's already decreasing, but it is still decreasing because you are getting a solid from a liquid and a gas. Or here you can take gas and a gas is forming a solid. So at that point of time, the S value will be much lesser, and you can see there's a suddenly they are still speed again they are going to the positive scale. Isn't it? So this is one more thing which you can observe from the Ellingham diagram. So next what you can predict here is the Ellingham diagram helps to predict which metal will reduce which metal oxide. What is it? Which metal will reduce which metal oxide. Now how can I predict that from the Ellingham diagram? Now for example, here above aluminium there is one more line, okay? That is for chromium, like this. Formation of chromic oxide. Okay, I am not writing the entire equation. It is for formation of chromic oxide, Cr2O3. Now here, what happens is, if I have chromic oxide, what is it? I have chromic oxide. To reduce chromic oxide, I can use aluminium metal. I can use aluminium metal, not oxide. I can take aluminium and add to chromic oxide. Aluminium will take all the oxygen from chromium to give chromium metal. Similarly, if I take aluminium oxide, I can use magnesium as a reducing agent up to this particular temperature, not after that. Why? After that you can see magnesium is going above and the aluminium is below. So below this temperature, I can also use magnesium metal for reduction of aluminium oxide. This is what you can predict. Why is it so? Now if you ask me, okay, from the graph I can predict, ma'am, but why is it happening? See, aluminium oxide is more stable than chromium oxide because aluminium oxide formation has got less negative value compared to chromium oxide formation. Delta G is more negative for what? Aluminium oxide. That means aluminium oxide is more stable than chromium oxide. So you take chromium oxide, add aluminium metal wants to form aluminium oxide. So it will take all the oxygen from chromium to give chromium metal. Same way, you take aluminium oxide, you can see this is the value for aluminium oxide and this is the value for magnesium oxide. For magnesium oxide, delta G is much negative. So what will happen when you add magnesium oxide? Magnesium has a tendency to take up oxygen from aluminium oxide to give you aluminium metal. So this is what you can predict from using the Ellingham diagram. Okay. One more thing what you can predict here is, in the Ellingham diagram, there is two more lines which can be here. That is for formation of mercuric oxide and for the formation of Ag2O. And they have a very less negative delta G0 value. Okay. So what will happen is, if I take silver oxide or mercury oxide and just heat it at a higher temperature, you can see it is going to the positive scale. Okay. So if I just heat them, it is sufficient to get silver. Oxygen will be liberated. Mercury oxide, if you heat it, you will get mercury and oxygen will be liberated. So those who have a less negative delta G0 value, only by heating without using any reducing agent, we can extract the metal. Okay. So this is one more thing what you can predict from Ellingham diagram. Next is applications. That is application of Ellingham diagram. Especially we are learning about reducing property of carbon alone. Why? Because to understand the metallurgy of iron, I require this, and this is very important. Okay. So metal oxide plus reducing agent will give me the metal and the oxidation product. This I have already explained. So you have the metal oxide, the reducing agent will take the oxygen and give the metal for us. Correct? So in this reaction, if you see in the Ellingham diagram, what are the reactions we had? We had formation of the metal oxide. We did not have the reaction where metal oxide is decomposing, isn't it? For the formation of metal oxide, delta G values were negative. Correct? So if I consider metal oxide, okay, for me, I don't want formation of metal oxide. What I want metal oxide to give metal and oxygen to be liberated. So this should be my equation 1. Okay. And the oxygen which is liberated should be taken up by the reducing agent so that it will form its oxide. So I can split this particular reaction into 2. What I can do, metal oxide should first form metal to liberate oxygen, and the reducing agent should take up the oxygen to give oxidation product. So if I split my reaction into 2, then first equation would be metal oxide giving metal and liberating oxygen. But I don't have this equations in my Ellingham diagram. I have the opposite of that. That is, metal plus oxygen forming metal oxide is what I get from the Ellingham diagram. Okay. So this is what I get from the Ellingham diagram. So what we need to do, the reduction, for example, carbon is the one which is undergoing reduction. See, Ellingham diagram is giving me this equation, that is carbon with oxygen giving carbon monoxide, I get the delta G naught values. Carbon monoxide plus oxygen giving carbon dioxide also, I am going to get the delta G naught values. Okay. If only carbon is taken, then carbon with less amount of oxygen, excess of oxygen can form even carbon dioxide. See, there are 3 reactions which are possible, which I get from the Ellingham diagram. That is carbon with oxygen giving carbon monoxide with oxygen giving carbon dioxide, and carbon with oxygen also giving carbon dioxide. Okay. Here I am getting the equation the way I want. But I am not getting the equation in which the metal oxide is getting, decomposed to give me this particular metal and the oxygen. E reaction illa, idra ulta reaction is there. So what we do is, we take the reactions from the Ellingham diagram and reverse it. And reverse the value of delta G also. Okay. So what we are doing, I'll take the reactions. That is, what is the reaction which I have got? This is the reaction which I have got in the Ellingham diagram. Okay. I reverse that. I just reverse it. I'll get MO giving metal and oxygen. Okay. And delta G naught values also will become positive here. Because it was negative there, here it becomes positive because I've reversed. Now I add with the reactions whose delta G is already negative. Okay. So I can add with carbon. Okay. I can add with carbon monoxide or I can add with coke. But I should see that when I add both, that is delta G naught which is positive and delta G naught which is negative, when I add, I should always get delta G naught which is negative only. Only then I can use that as a reducing agent. Now for this reaction, I want to use coke, this particular coke as a reducing agent if I want to use. Okay. Then when I add delta G naught of these 2 reactions, my delta G naught ultimately should be a negative value. Only then I can use it as a reducing agent. Okay. So if I add metal oxide plus carbon giving metal and carbon monoxide, or I can get metal oxide plus carbon monoxide giving carbon dioxide, or I can take metal oxide with coke giving metal plus carbon dioxide. So I can add up the equations. When I add the equations, the only thing what I have to take care is delta G value should be negative. Only then I can use that particular reducing agent. Okay. So this is the main application of Ellingham diagram. So what we do in the Ellingham diagram, we have the equations for, or we have the values for the formation of metal oxide. So I just reverse the reaction. For that particular reversing at temperature, I'll get to know what is the delta G value. If it is reversed equation, the delta G value also will become positive. Then I have to choose a reducing agent and add up both the metal, equation with the decomposition of the metal oxide to give metal and the reducing agent equation, and the delta G naught should be negative. Only then we can use that. Now if you ask me, whatever I have taught till now, that is Ellingham diagram and its application, for exam point of view, how important it is, ma'am? For the exam point of view, for your PU board exam, this will not be asked. Okay, but it is very important to understand this so that you will understand whatever I am explaining next, that is the metallurgy of iron, copper, all of that. Okay, if you do not understand Ellingham diagram, maybe you will find it a little difficult to understand all those concepts. But when it comes to your competitive exams, Ellingham diagram and its applications is really very important, at least what is there in your textbook. All of this for the PU board, it will not be asked because it's given in the green colored box. Okay, so for the board exams, this is not very important, but for competitives, it is important, and there are so many questions which can be asked. From the Ellingham diagram, what can be asked for your exam, that is for your board exams, I shall explain to you all when I am doing it. Okay. Next is application of Ellingham diagram in extraction of iron from its oxide. So this is a part which they can ask for your board exams also. So this is important. So if you have to understand this, of course you should know what is Ellingham diagram and all. That's why I have included it in your video classes. Okay. Now if you observe the Ellingham diagram, it looks like this. Okay, I am just taking only for iron, extraction of iron, and why we are using coke and carbon monoxide as the reducing agent, I shall explain. Okay, so here you can see the plot looks like this. Okay, so this is the delta G naught values and this is the temperature. Okay, so you have three lines which you have to observe. There is one line of iron oxide, that is formation of FeO, which is going above, that is Fe plus oxygen is giving FeO. Okay, then I have one more line which is coming below. Okay, that is for coke plus oxygen forming carbon monoxide. Okay, there is one more line where carbon monoxide plus oxygen is giving carbon dioxide. Okay, so that line comes like this. What is this? This is for carbon monoxide plus oxygen giving carbon dioxide. So to balance this, I need this. Okay, so what is it? We have three lines. Okay, where carbon plus oxygen giving carbon monoxide is the line which is coming down. Iron to iron oxide, it is going above, and carbon monoxide to oxygen is forming carbon dioxide is also going above. Now all of these three lines meets at a particular temperature, that is at 1073 Kelvin. So here you can see this meets at 1073 Kelvin. Now if you observe very carefully, which I can use as a reducing agent at which temperature? See here, iron oxide I have above and coke to carbon monoxide I have below after 1073. That means I can use coke as a reducing agent. Correct? And one more thing what you can observe is, here you can see below 1073, coke is above iron oxide line. Here it is. And this is for iron oxide and here it is for coke. Correct? No. So I can't use coke below 1073. But you can observe that below 1073, carbon monoxide can be used as a reducing agent. So here carbon monoxide can be used as a reducing agent below 1073. I told you when I explained Ellingham diagram, the line below it, whatever it is there, that element can be used as a reducing agent for the metal oxide. Correct? No. So for getting iron from iron oxide, I can use coke. And here to get iron from iron oxide, I can use carbon monoxide because that line is below the line of iron oxide. Okay. So this is very important for you to understand. I hope it is understood. That's the reason I have put the graph like this for you all in 3 different colors so that it is very, very clear in the Ellingham diagram. Okay. Also, there is one more line. Okay. Here it is FeO. At what state? Iron is in +2 state. When Fe +3 state it is present. There is one more line which goes in the Ellingham diagram and it is like this. Here. Okay. For this is for what? Formation of Fe2O3 where iron is in +3 state. And you can see at 800 Kelvin you will get this line where it is meeting with the carbon coke with carbon monoxide formation line. So you can see after this temperature, after 800 Kelvin, again coke only can be used as a reducing agent. Okay, but below 800 degrees Celsius, what I can use? I have to use carbon monoxide only as a reducing agent because you see carbon monoxide line is below this. Correct? No? Here it is. So again, I can use carbon monoxide only as the reducing agent. So it is 1073 and 800 Kelvin. 2 places they are meeting for 2 different formation of 2 different metal oxides. Okay, FeO and Fe2O3. Now, at temperature below 800 Kelvin, delta G naught for carbon to give carbon monoxide to give carbon dioxide line is less than Fe to Fe2O3 line. Therefore, carbon monoxide is the best reducing agent below 1073 Kelvin. Above 1073 Kelvin, coke is the best reducing agent. So I hope this is very clear for you all. So if I have Fe2O3, I can use carbon monoxide. So I'll get Fe3O4 and carbon dioxide. Further, Fe3O4 will react with more carbon monoxide to give Fe and carbon dioxide gas is liberated. Fe2O3 can also react with carbon monoxide to form Fe and carbon dioxide, and FeO will react with carbon monoxide again to give Fe and FCO2. All of these reactions are below 1073 Kelvin where you are using carbon monoxide as the reducing agent. So I hope you have understood why carbon monoxide is the best reducing agent below 1073 Kelvin for extraction of iron. Okay. Next is metallurgy of iron. So the first step is concentration of the ore by hydraulic washing. So we use the method of hydraulic washing for concentration of the ore during the extraction of metal. First step. Second step is we do calcination. That is, the ore is heated with limited supply of air so that all the iron, already it's there in the oxide form, it can be converted, and if there is any moisture, can be removed. So the oxide ores of iron are heated with limited supply of air in reverberatory furnace. This process is used to remove all the moisture and non-metallic impurities associated with the ore. The ferrous oxide present also get converted to ferric oxide. So FeO is getting converted to Fe2O3 in this process. Okay. Next is smelting. So what is smelting? The calcinized ore, that is the ore which is undergone calcination, what do we call it as? Calcinized ore is mixed with coke and limestone in 8:4:1 proportion. That is 8 proportions of calcinized ore, 4 proportions of coke, 1 proportion of limestone. It is mixed properly and introduced into the blast furnace. So this is the furnace where smelting is happening. Okay, the blast of hot air is blown into the furnace through tires. So here you can see the blast furnace. So what we are taking? We are taking iron ore, that is the calcinized ore, coke and limestone in 8:4:1 proportion. Then we are charging it to the blast furnace. Blast furnace is a very huge furnace in which it is made up of bricks which can withstand the temperature. Also, you can see there are quite number of openings here for this. At above you can see there is opening for hot waste gases. You can also see there is an opening to remove out the molten iron and molten slag, and also you can see there are two openings to put a blast of hot air. So what we do is we charge here, okay, the charge has what? Coke, limestone and the calcinized ore. We powder it and we have to put it into this, and we have to pass hot air. It should be blasted, means with full force it has to enter into the blast furnace. So when it is hot air, you can see the temperature below is very high. As we go above, the temperature is going on decreasing. Why is it decreasing also I shall explain. Now what happens is, I'll just talk about the three zones which is formed. The lowest zone is called as zone of combustion. Okay. Here what is happening? You can see coke what you have added reacts with oxygen to form carbon dioxide. Okay. In this particular zone. And as this carbon dioxide gas is moving above, it reacts with more coke to form carbon monoxide. That's how we are going to get our reducing agent carbon monoxide. Also coke is also there. We know at 1073 Kelvin, coke also can act as a reducing agent, isn't it? So we have coke as well as we have carbon monoxide which is formed in the zone of combustion, that is at around 1500 degrees Celsius. Okay. Now, as we go above, why the temperature is decreasing is, this particular reaction is an endothermic reaction. So it absorbs energy. So as we go, the carbon dioxide is moving above to form carbon monoxide. The temperature is also reducing. Okay. Now as the carbon monoxide is moving above, carbon monoxide will react with Fe2O3 to give iron and carbon dioxide gas, and excess carbon dioxide gas just moves around. Okay, or just goes out. The iron which is formed here at this particular zone starts, it's very heavy, so it starts slowly moving down. Okay, and also in between there is a zone which is called as slag formation zone or slag zone, we call it as. Okay, so as the iron is moving down, we know that ore is not completely pure. It has got some impurities of silicon dioxide. So calcium carbonate is lime what we have added. At high temperature it forms calcium oxide and carbon dioxide gas. Calcium oxide will react with sand, that is SiO2, to form slag. Slag is also molten at that temperature, so it again starts flowing down. So what is coming down? We have iron which is moving down and also slag which is moving down, and as carbon dioxide gas is formed, it is going above, reacting with coke. And carbon monoxide, once it is formed, in this zone we call it as reduction zone, where iron is produced. Okay, so these are certain reactions which is happening in the blast furnace. Now what will happen is, as iron is coming down, it has a tendency to pick up carbon. Okay, and thus it is not purest form of iron which is formed here. Okay, we call it as pig iron. And also the slag is lighter than iron, so it floats over iron, and because this slag is there, it is preventing or it is protecting the iron from air, that is oxygen what we passed. Otherwise iron can actually react with oxygen again to form iron oxide if slag wouldn't have been there. So slag what is formed is protecting the iron below it from coming in contact with oxygen. Okay, so that's about the blast furnace. So once again I shall repeat, you're taking the charge, adding it into the blast furnace, and hot air is blasted from below. So as air goes and reacts with carbon monoxide, coke to form carbon dioxide with more coke will form carbon monoxide. So that is zone of combustion which is below here. Okay, as carbon monoxide goes above, it reacts with iron oxide to form iron and carbon dioxide, and that is reduction zone. As iron is formed, it is coming below because it's heavy. On the way it will pick up more of carbon, so we call such iron as pig iron. Okay, then in between there is a slag zone to remove all the impurities which is formed, in which limestone first, because of the heat, it will form calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. Then the calcium oxide with sand will give slag. So the slag is lighter than iron, it floats over it, and the molten slag is the one which is preventing iron from coming in contact with oxygen in the blast furnace. So this is about the extraction of iron in blast furnace. Only the equation according to the zones, it's like this. First, in the combustion zone, that is at 900 to 1500 Kelvin, we have carbon with oxygen forming carbon dioxide, carbon, more coke and carbon dioxide is forming carbon monoxide. Next, we have the reduction zone, that is between 500 to 800 Kelvin, where reduction takes place. Okay, so we have Fe3O4 with carbon monoxide giving iron and carbon dioxide, Fe2O3 with carbon monoxide giving iron and carbon dioxide, and FeO with carbon monoxide giving Fe and carbon dioxide. And all of the iron what is formed will start moving down. Next, in the slag zone, that is at 1123 Kelvin, what happens? Calcium carbonate will form calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. Calcium oxide with more silicon dioxide will form calcium silicate, which is called as the slag. Okay, so these are the equations of extraction of metal, that is iron. Okay, and this is a very important question for your exam. Okay. Next is about the pig iron. What is the meaning of pig iron? The iron obtained from blast furnace contains 4% of carbon and many impurities in small amount. This is known as pig iron, and it can be cast into various shapes. Because it has got 4% carbon, we call it as pig iron. It has got a lot of impurities. Okay. Next is cast iron. It is made by melting pig iron with scrap iron. Pig iron with scrap iron and coke using hot air of blast. It has slightly lower carbon content, that is about 3%. So what we do is pig iron we take, mix it with scrap iron, again air is passed through that, so that the carbon content in the iron is reduced to 3%, and we call it as cast iron. Okay. Next, you can see, if you have iron ore, first we will get blast furnace, then we get pig iron. Pig iron can give 3 different types of iron, that is, it's melted, hammered and reheated and rolled, we get wrought iron. It is remelted, poured into sand molds, we get cast iron. Okay, and it is melted, separate the metallic constituent, alloyed and rolled, we get mild iron, that is called as steel. Okay, so we can get different kinds of iron by using pig iron. Okay, further reduction of the iron, that is wrought iron or malleable iron, is the purest form of commercial iron which is there, and it is prepared from cast iron by oxidizing the impurities in the reverberatory furnace lined with hematite. The hematite oxidizes the carbon to carbon monoxide. So what happens here is, you take cast iron, okay, it has got 3% carbon, it is added to reverberatory furnace. Okay, reverberatory furnace, it can be of different types. For example, if this is the reverberatory furnace, it is lined with hematite, that is Fe2O3 is called as hematite. Okay, and you are adding here what? Cast iron, which contains carbon. So this hematite reacts with carbon to form iron and carbon monoxide. That's how the carbon content in cast iron can be reduced to get wrought iron. Okay. Limestone is added as a flux, and sulfur, silicon, phosphorus are oxidized by passing into the slag. So even limestone is added to form slag to remove out all the sulfur, silicon and phosphorus impurities. Okay, this is how wrought iron is prepared by further reduction. Next class, we will be learning about the extraction of copper from copper pyrites, extraction of aluminium from bauxite and extraction of gold by hydrometallurgy process. So I hope you have understood today's class. Thank you, my dear children. Stay tuned, stay focused.